And away we go. It is the BCJ Podcast, brought to you by the Holy Grail. We are live in the Cincy Light Studios right here on BearcatJournal.com. Make sure anytime you're downtown, down at the banks, anywhere in that general vicinity, stop by, see our good friends at the Holy Grail. They will get you taken care of. Great food. Love the pizzas. We, Kelly used to be a big fan of the Reuben wontons, so those are always a hit. Great wings, cheesesteaks, you name it. Great food selection at the Holy Grail. And as always, get yourself an ice cold Cincy Light. 50 cents from every Cincy Light purchased at the Holy Grail will be donated back into the Cincy Reigns NIL Collective. Support those that support us, but more importantly, support the Holy Grail because they support the Cincinnati Bearcats. All right, Dave. How's it going, buddy?
I'm good. I'm good. I'm ready for the weekend.
It's gonna be an interesting weekend. Oh, by the way, they do have these on the Rhine Guys shop.
Oh, all right.
Well, Cincy Light water bottles. They've got the if you're trying to be healthy or whatever. They've got the ounces and everything on there.
I don't know if we've ever talked about this. Does a portion of stuff like that go to NIL as well, or is it just the beer?
So actually, more of this goes to the NIL Collective. If you buy the merch, 50% of the proceeds go to Cincy Reigns. So you're donating more money this way.
So you couldn't buy that and drink your Cincy Light out of it and feel like you're really contributing to Bearcat athletics. You're on mute.
We should try that sometime. I'll just pour all the Cincy Light in here.
Yeah.
Chug it from you.
Maybe it tastes better. I don't know.
It's got the screw-on lid, so you can keep it. Your beer, once you open it, like your beer is open, right? This bad boy, you can close the lid, keep it fresh.
Yeah.
So, yeah. There you go. Add that to the... Anytime they give me something new, I'm just going to add it to the collection.
Yeah, just keep putting it in the background there.
Yeah. I also got... I think you can get one of these too, Dave.
The flag.
There you go.
I mean, if you're going to be in the Cincy Light studios, you better have a lot of Cincy Light stuff.
Right. We do. I haven't figured out where I'm going to put this up yet. But
I think you should just wear it as a cape the whole time. Or like you're getting a haircut. You like put it around the front like you're getting a haircut or something. Yeah. There you go.
I stopped by Rhine Guys yesterday and they got me set up with some new stuff and getting ready for we're gonna do a bunch of stuff in 2025 with Cincy Light. A lot of activations, some giveaways. So we're gearing up for that. But they hooked me up with a couple new things. So I think it's shop.rhinegeist.com. And you can load up on your Cincy Light merch. Kelsey has she got a crew neck that's actually pretty sweet. We're gonna send her to school in it one day and see how they handle that. Oh boy. Let's get to it, Dave. It's the day after. The Bearcats have their first Big 12 conference win of the 2025 season as they take down Colorado last night, 68-62. It felt like it was a game that probably should not have been as close as it was for long periods of time. And then it was much closer than it needed to be as Colorado takes a 1-point lead at 51-50. And I will be honest, Dave, my reaction at that point was, Are you kidding me? Do we really have to do this? I don't want to do this.
I think
I don't want to do this.
I think I text Brent. Not even by the time I think they cut the lead to 3, and I think I text Brent. And I was like, "If we lose this game," and that was like all I said. Yeah, I mean, I want to be positive. There were some things that I did like. I liked obviously CMOS, especially in the second half. You know, at least for one game, finding his stroke. I think the thing I liked the most was the play where he kind of just bullied the dude and went baseline. I was like,
yeah,
where's that been the other 15 games?
Right. Let's do more of that. Can we do that? Like, you're bigger and stronger than most of these dudes.
Kind of two power dribbles and went right up through him. And I don't know if that necessarily cleared the way for the threes, but I mean, that's the stuff you and I have been talking about. Being more aggressive on offense, forcing the issue a little bit, and then obviously hit a couple big shots. I was
off of good offense, the type of stuff that's been missing, clean, good.
And that was what I was going to get to. That was at the end of the game. It felt like they ran good stuff, and not just. I don't just say ran good stuff because the end result was a made basket. Like you felt, at least from my viewing, like that it was different. The attitude was different. The pop was different. Like they ran good stuff and executed. There's a difference. I mean, I think they've ran some good stuff in this unfortunate stretch, but the execution hasn't been there. I think more times than not, though, and we'll get into it because I have some thoughts on it. But I liked that. I liked the free throw shooting, especially in crunch time when you had to make those free throws. I mean, they finished I threw out a very dumb tweet and then realized that Skillings missed two free throws and then deleted it and basically said I was an idiot, called myself an idiot. But the end was 8 for 8 when you had to have them.
Yeah.
And so that was encouraging. Any road win, I'm not going to really, what's the term, poo-poo on. So, right. But if we're being honest, at the same time, without 2 starters, playing another team that is young, had 3 guys go in the draft, to be up, and I say only, but like only 10 to 12 when they were at that point, Colorado was shooting 29% for the game and turning the ball over left and right.
Yeah. And
UC was up like 44-32, 44-34, and then all of a sudden it's a 3-point, 1-point, Colorado's winning. I'm like, it's hard for me to, maybe it is the start of something, so I don't want to minimize it, but at the same time, it's one game, and there were, again, stretches where I'm like, especially on offense, like, what offense are we running? Like, it gets to the point where I'm like, okay, we don't run the flex, we don't run the dribble drive, we don't run 1-4 low, we don't run pick and pop. Like, we just get into these moments of 4 or 5 minutes where I'm like, what actual offense is this? Is it we don't run motion? And I'm like, what is this? Is this just ball screen? And because I don't want to revert back to Kansas or like those games are in the past. There's no point in talking about those. But I'm like, what are we doing? Because it feels that we get into these stretches where it's like dribble, one screen shot, or one pass, and then that guy kind of just messes around for a while and then takes a shot. Or so I'm just still kind of like, yeah, it was a little better, but it's not, in my mind, it's certainly not good enough or repeatable enough to just go on some big run. Like, there still needs to be, I think, offensively considerable steps that is still missing. I mean, I felt like, and this might be wrong, this might just be a feel thing, felt like Day played a lot. And
this is 2 games in a row he's played more than Jizzle at
and
point.
Got to the basket kind of whenever he wanted it, especially in transition. But I mean, that's what they're good at. That's when they've been at their best. So part of me goes, okay, push it more. You also have to be in. You can't do that when the numbers aren't there.
Yes, you can.
Well, I mean, you can just like not blindly attack 1-on-3 stuff like that.
Right, but the point is, you can push the ball and make the defense react to it.
Yeah, because you catch them in situations where they're not sure on matchups, and maybe it's not a break to the rim, but it's a trailer that is open because the defense's floor isn't spaced properly.
I think Wes has been listening to the shows, because Monday I said, when's the last time they ran when it wasn't a steal and dunk? Like, when's the last time? This is a team that's identity is defense and rebounding, right?
Right.
And you have 2 point guards that their strength is supposed to be their athleticism and speed, and you're not attacking off missed shots. You're not. The only time you're getting out in transition is when you steal the ball and have a 1-on-0 dunk. Like, that's not, this team is supposed to be length and athleticism and get up and down the floor.
Right.
And they had just settled into, and Wes said it after the game. He said, we worked on this week doing more than running when we, like, in the absolute most obvious situations.
Yeah,
Other than that, we're not moving.
And that doesn't mean take it all the way to the basket every time. It just means increase the pace of the game. Get Dan Skillings and Dylan Mitchell running on the wings and catching the ball and hard cutting to the middle when guys are on the defense are running. Especially, this didn't bother me as much in the second half because it's Colorado made more, shot a higher percentage.
Yeah.
So it's harder to run. We all know it's harder to run offense against the set defense. The first half was what bothered me. Like,
yeah.
And I'm not going to call them
better this time.
I'm not going to call them not a good team, but like Colorado was dreadful in the first half. A air quotes good team should have been up 20 at halftime. UC was up 7.
Yeah.
I mean, they were just throwing the ball out of bounds. They started the game, 0 for 14 from the field?
It was bad.
And we're up 7 at half? Like, that should have been a layup line. Or at least, like, go, get them in foul trouble, get to the line, get guys open on the wings where guys are out of position, not getting back on defense. And it was like, we'll just walk it up. We'll set a ball screen up top. That guy will dribble around for a while. He'll pass it to somebody else who, I mean, that's just where maybe I'm not as in tune to 2025 offensive basketball and there's new offenses that I'm just not aware of, but like, I just don't know what they do in the half court.
So a lot of it is at times like a lack of awareness, a lack of basketball. Like, they'll run a set. I talked about this on the radio with Mo today. I think I talked about it with Aaron last night.
I mean, I know what you're talking about. It's the CMOS play where he gets to 4 feet from the basket and doesn't shoot the ball.
No, it's more. No, not that.
Oh, that.
Not that. That one, yes. Where if they throw another lob when the defender sags and stays with Aziz or stays with Dylan to prevent the lob, creates a giant opening for the guy to just lay it in with no resistance, and they still throw the fucking lob, I'm going to lose my shit. No, I'm talking about the cross screen action where they come down and they're open on the block. Like, that is the design of the play. The entire set is run to get that screen and allow the guy to cut open on the left block, wide open. And like the last 4 times they ran it, Dave, they didn't throw the pass. Like,
it reminds me of that old play. The old play Huggs used to run for Fortson, where they'd set the cross screen on the block and he would kind of come under the basket and seal his guy. I mean, they threw it to him 25 times a game, and he scored almost every, because he got the guy on his hip, and there was nothing you could. It's like, it doesn't mean that Aziz or whoever has to shoot the ball there, but like that's the entry point of the play.
The play is designed to create that action. And that action is open. Like there was, I think 2 or 3 times, Dylan ran that play, flashed to the spot. The defender was late, trailing. If they just throw it, he's got a dunk or like an easy layup. And instead, they're holding the ball. And every time they hold the ball, the defense recovers. Like that's my biggest frustration with the offense is I'm seeing stuff that is there that like the action is supposed to create, and then they're not completing the play and throwing the ball to like this is what you just did all that work for. You know, a lot of times I laugh because people are like, and this is not to say there's not standing around that has happened, because there is, because there's been too much dribbling and not.
Whenever you have a high ball screen, it's the other guys always look like they're standing around because
they're setting a screen.
Where else are you going to go? They're setting a screen for the ball handler. Like you're like running from corner to corner doesn't do anything because the screen's happening 35 feet from the basket.
Right. There are points in time that guys are going to be standing because that's the I'll get to that in a minute. Because I've got something I think, but probably won't happen because I just don't see it happening. But anyhow, if you create the action, if you run the play and the play is designed to create an action, and that action happens and the guy is open, you have completely ruined that possession if the ball is not on time and like
right. Because what happens? The cross screen happens, whoever it is comes over, you don't throw him the ball. Well, guess what you have to do? Throw it back out to the top, and you're essentially starting over with 10 seconds on the shot clock.
Right.
I mean, I'm not going to call, lazy is not the right word. I just feel
it's not sharp.
It's nonchalant, man. Like you watch teams that if they run motion, they are running and going opposite and passing and cutting. If you run, I don't even know. I know Bruce Pearl ran it when he was at Tennessee. I don't know if he still runs it at all, but he ran the flex. I mean, there's a pass and then there's an immediate cut. And then there's a guy running across the paint. I mean, we just kind of float. Nobody is like diving in. There's no hard screens where someone cuts off the screen super hard and there's a quick kick out to the wing and then there's a shot. Like it's just, I'm sure someone that knows way more about offensive basketball can tell me that's what it's just what I see. It just feels like they're just kind of we'll just kind of do what we do, and then when we'll run some ISO stuff for someone when
they don't have any ISO players.
Right. Right.
The team, like, let's just be honest about the roster construction. The roster construction was built to play off of each other. Everybody is at about the same level. There's not a quote unquote alpha. There's a bunch of really good players, right? The only way that works is if everybody is unselfish and working specifically to execute the play so that at the end of the play, one of those guys ends up with a quality shot. It's not going to be the same person all the time.
It's not the same thing because I don't think they're running the same offense, but like I feel like it should look like how Indiana State did last year, where there's just a lot of movement, a lot of action. We don't care who takes the shot. All 5 of you guys are capable of taking the shot, but we're going to get a good shot because we're going to outwork the other team, and somebody's going to be wide open at some point. Yeah. Whether it's a 3, whether it's because there's a backdoor cut, whether it's because there's a back screen lob, like I just don't see it. And I don't think winning a game, again, not going to take anything away from winning a road game in conference. It was way better than the loss. Like, shit. If they'd lost that game, right. But like, what do you take from that game other than maybe CMOS got out of a funk to the next game? At least specifically offensively.
Right.
I mean,
Yeah.
I don't know if you can take anything else from other than that.
There were large chunks of that game. Just call it a spade a spade. There were large chunks of that game where the offense was hard to watch.
You're up 12 points midway through the second half, and they have the lead like 7 minutes later.
Yeah. Well, runs like that happen. The crazy thing is, their best play, like Colorado's best play, like it wasn't like Colorado got hot. Like they just Cincinnati didn't score.
Right.
So they just slowly walked them down. Like, I've seen a bunch of times where a team has like a 3-minute stretch where all of a sudden you miss 3 shots, they make a couple threes, a 12-point lead gets to 3, like in the blink. That was not it. It was not that. It was slow. It was painful. It was methodical. It was ugly. Let's be honest. What? They led by 12 the last time on the
CJ got fouled shooting a 3 with 14 and a half minutes left. They're up 44-32. With 4 minutes left, so 10 and a half minutes, it's 51-50 Colorado. So 17-7, or no, even more than that. 17-6 run in 10 minutes.
Yeah, 6 points in 10 minutes. And was there a good look in that entire 10-minute stretch? Because it didn't feel like it, really.
And maybe I don't know.
Dan made a good 3. I do remember that.
It's very
when they
armchair quarterbacking. But like, were you wondering, like, hey Wes, maybe call a timeout here?
No, I don't ever really. Very rarely do I ever.
It just wasn't working on offense, so I feel like maybe get one set run.
Dave, you had the under 12. You had the under 8. You almost had the under 4.
I don't disagree. I mean, yeah, it wasn't like it was gone in a blink of an eye. It took them 10 minutes, but we scored 6 points in 10 minutes.
Guess what? Somebody's gonna walk you down. You put up 6 in 10 minutes, they're gonna walk you down very, very slowly. It was like the when you went to the mall back in the day and there were the grandmas and walking the mall. It was a very slow walk. It was not an accelerated run that cut that gap. It was just the pain of sitting there for 10 minutes of live action and going, they're absolutely going to lose this game. They are absolutely going to lose this game and have another one of those halves where they score 13 points, 12 points, whatever bad number you want to think of. Because, I mean, they were up 12 and had scored, what was it? They had 34 at halftime. So they go up 12.
Yeah, they scored 10 points in the first 5 minutes of the second half.
Yeah.
And then scored 6 points the next 10 minutes.
The next 10. It's like, here we go. We're going to get another sub 50 performance, 3 in a row. I was ready to just like jump off my back deck into the snow, whatever was left, which, because it's been so cold out, is now just, 8 inches of ice.
I mean, at this point, I mean, I'm not even really sure what you do.
Well, here's what we know, okay? I think we both generally try not to get
hyperbolic,
too high or low. Like a bad game or two, that can be fixed. Like, okay, we did the same thing with the passing offense in football. We didn't freak out when it kind of stalled out after 2 games.
I mean, it's the Big 12. outside of Iowa State and maybe Houston, like everybody's going to get their teeth kicked in once or twice.
Yeah.
But now we're on 6 games in a row or 5 games in a row.
5 games in a row.
Where, like, we can talk about lineups. You can talk about make open shots. I mean, I just think they don't really run, like they run a lot of screens, but like we've talked about, they're not a very good screening team.
It's kind of a problem usually.
So, run. I mean, here's a run better offense. Like, be more decisive. Like,
yeah.
But other than that, I mean, you're not just going to like install a new offense.
No, but my point being, we are at the point, Dave, where I think we're both comfortable saying they're not going to run good. They're not going to be a good offensive team this year. They might run good stuff. They might have a game or two where they shoot it well or they play well. I am past the point of thinking this team's got a chance to be decent offensively because we are in a long enough stretch now that we know they're going to be a good defensive team, sometimes a great defensive team. They're going to be a good rebounding team, sometimes a great rebounding team. They are not going to be a great offensive team.
That is not a great formula for winning a bunch of games.
I mean, it reduces the margin for error drastically.
Yeah. I mean, that's what I mean. I don't know exactly. I mean, I think that's probably a lot of the Wes and the staff's frustration. I mean, I'm sure they're trying.
He was not in a great mood last night after a win.
I'm sure they're trying a lot of different things to. I mean, Jizzle is in a major. I mean, he's not coming close on some stuff.
No, he's in a funk. He's advanced. What's worse than funk?
Are we allowed to use or a slump? Is a slump worse than a funk?
Yeah, I mean, a slump can be extended, right? Like they've created the phrase like slump buster for a reason.
Yeah.
Like I think a slump is extended. What's the lowest of the low on that, like? Because
I don't know.
The ball is just not going in the basket at all. And it doesn't, like, even when it does go in the bat, like when he does make a shot, it doesn't feel like there's any momentum that's built off of it.
I mean, he's 2 for his last 19 from 3.
Yeah.
Dating back to the Grambling game, he scored more than 7 points once since the Grambling game. That was 11 against Kansas State. And he hasn't taken more than 2 free throws in any game in the last 10.
No, and the free throws yesterday were he got fouled at the end.
Right.
He made 1 3 yesterday.
I mean,
that was it.
I don't know, man. I mean, I feel like that guy should be living at the line. Just living there.
It's just not how he plays.
I know.
He keeps himself from the free throw line. Like Berg brought up a great point too, like on the boards. Like if they're going to high hedge you to death, drive into the high hedge and start putting fouls on people.
Right.
It's not going to result in free throws, but they're going to stop high hedging you if you're just creating havoc by, okay, I'm going to drive, like if they're going to be off balance and high hedge me, I'm going to drive into the guy's hip. I'm going to get a foul. We're going to reset the play. And I'm going to put fouls on their center or their power forward or whatever. Over and over and over again. And instead, he goes backwards or he goes sideways. He goes everywhere but the contact. It's crazy. It doesn't make any sense for somebody with his skill set and ability that his natural instinct isn't towards contact. Like he is trying to avoid contact at all costs. It's crazy.
Yeah.
this is what I was talking about earlier, Dave. I would take the ball screen out of the early part of the offense.
I mean, I probably would too. I mean, what are we getting off of it?
Nothing. We're getting a completely stalled offense because he dribbles backwards or he dribbles sideways, and that hesitation allows the defense to recover. So whatever set you're running on the side, if you're going baseline runner, or you got a guy coming off an elevator screen or a down screen or whatever, because he's hesitating and because he's going away from the rim, all of a sudden the defense recovers, the play dies, and then he's just stuck dribbling, and then they reset the ball screen, and then he goes off the other side, and it happens again on the other side, and then 16 seconds is Jizzle playing, sideways or backwards off of ball screens. That's not good offense. Like, if the high ball screen is not going to initiate your offense, have him bring it up the floor, pass it, and then do whatever else you were going to do.
Yeah.
But quit waiting for the ball screen to work because it's not working.
Well, that's what I feel like when we talk about guys standing around. It always seems like when you come up the floor and there's some sort of action on the sideline and you throw an entry pass, so to speak, to start the possession. I'll just use that as the term. Like,
yes, initiate the offense.
Right, and then everyone starts cutting and running. Like, there isn't any of that. Like, there's a screen on the side, and Jizzle runs over and kind of throws it off to the right to Simas, and that starts the offense.
Not even doing that.
Right, but that's what I mean. That's what I'm saying. I feel like that's
right.
What could be happening. He either cuts down the lane or he goes opposite and sets a screen or what. Like, it's just there's no flow, there's no movement, there's no passes aren't into my hands and then immediately over to somebody else, and then I'm immediately sprinting over here to set a screen opposite, and like it's like we talked about. I mean, they're very, very easy to guard right now in the half court.
Has this always they've ran a similar version of this offense, but like, DeJulius wasn't perfect, but he was a threat to do something with the ball, even if it resulted in isolation.
That's the thing, is you had Dave, and even like, this is not going to turn into like a Mick West thing, but like Mick's offenses, we saw lots of 50-something point, 60-something point games. Yeah. But he always had an SK or a Jaren that in that run that Colorado went on, even though it wasn't a quick one, in that 10-minute run, that guy was going to get at least one bucket.
Well, they were going to run an action. They were going to clear it out. He was going to get the ball. Whoever that guy was going to get the ball and a clear out, open side.
I mean, just like the AAC championship game, how many possessions in a row did they run 1-4 low with Jaren against Houston?
All of them.
I mean, literally the entire second half was 1-4 low.
Right. One guy comes up to set a ball screen. Jaren plays off the ball screen. But, I don't think either of those guys are great passers. They
just don't have, and we talked about it, that the sum of the parts is going to have to be better than the individuals, but it's sometimes you just need a guy.
Right.
And there's nothing wrong with I don't think there's necessarily anything. Hindsight is not 2020. Like, I'm not saying that the way they constructed this roster, they should have done something else. I think just sometimes you just need a guy that can either draw a foul or get to the basket. Like, they don't really set anything up for each other.
They're late on passes. Like, they don't come off screens great. Like, they don't come like, that was the thing. Simas executed perfectly, running off those screens late, ran the defender into the screen, created separation, and then was able to catch and shoot. We haven't seen a lot of that this year up until last night in the final 4 minutes of the game. Like he didn't do it. Wasn't like he was doing it the whole time. Now he did do a better job, like we talked about, of realizing on the wing, get it and go. Like get it, play downhill, attack the rim a little bit. Maybe not throwing that alley-oop woke him up. That like I have to go all the way to the rim because nobody is playing me, to like that. They're allowing me to get to my spot and score at 4 feet. You're a big, strong dude. Get to your spot and score at 4 feet.
Yeah.
He did it a little bit more.
I mean, I guess I'm wrong. I always thought that was like the scary part about Jizzle's game. Was like the physique and the power and the back pedal that you put defense. Like he got all those pull-ups because so many guys were afraid of getting bullied into the basket support that they were backpedaling, and he was just like, all right, well, but at some point you have to go to the basket.
Yeah, because now teams they're
not stepping back from you.
No, they're stepping right into you. They're saying, we dare you because you're not going to do it. We know you're not going to do it. And then when you stop and you fade away, all of a sudden they're there to challenge because they weren't backpedaling. You didn't get the defender off balance. The defender is able to keep his feet. He's able to stay connected with you. And then that little 6 to 8 foot pull up that should be a high percentage shot is now a low percentage shot because it's being contested every time.
Yeah.
It's frustrating.
Yeah.
Frustrating.
I mean, nothing like for me, the outlook doesn't really change. Like, great, you got to win on the road, but like, I still see too many things that I feel like will keep this team from extended success. I mean, I think this might be harsh, but like, win the next 5 and then you'll get my attention.
At least you've got to, like, these 2 at home, you have to win. And I know Texas Tech is good. Like, and Arizona State has talent, but that is a young team that is bad on the road. So you have to get to 3 and 4 before you head on this trip out to Utah. Like, I think you have to. 2 and 5 going out there, like there's no guarantee you're going to go to Utah or BYU and get a win because, I mean, Utah, they're not good, but they're going to shoot a ton of threes. And on some nights, especially at home,
they might hit
going to go
15.
in. Yeah. It doesn't even matter. Like 15, get the fuck out of here. They can hit 7 and it's oh shit, right? I'm not worried about 15. 15, they're going to lose by 20, Dave. But they can hit 7, and it's a problem. So, you've got to take whatever happened at Colorado. You got on the plane with a win. And hopefully that alleviates some of that because I do think you're seeing they're forcing it a little bit where they're in that in-between of like, I want to do something, but I don't want to screw up. Like they're that dreaded like weight of the weight of the world is on your shoulders offensively. When you score 88 points in 2 games, your offense is bad, and you know it. Like These guys aren't dumb. They've been playing basketball their whole lives. They went through 80 minutes of basketball and scored 88 points.
What was their points per possession for the last 2 games, or for those 2 games?
It was 0.8 or so, in the 0.8 range. If Mark's here, he'll tell us.
It was that high?
Dave, 0.8 is it's so bad.
I know, but I mean, it was
well, Kansas was a really low possession.
It was just over 1 in points per minute.
Yeah.
I would think points per possession would be quite a bit lower than that.
I mean, even last night when they got, 8 points at the end of the game for free, basically in the final minute, they got to 1 point per possession. Now, fortunately, the defense did travel. They did a great job on Hammond, who, he's been kind of their savior. He's been that guy that we're talking about that Mick always had, where, when he's going, he's going to get 25. They did a great job on him, although they let one guy who was averaging 5 points a game coming in all of a sudden look like, Bango Dak looked like an All-American. He was, now he's averaging 6 points a game.
after having 17 or whatever he finished with.
19 last night. 7 of 13 from the floor. He hit 2 threes. He was 3 of 4 from the free throw line. He had 8 rebounds and 8 blocks.
Against Baylor, points per possession was 0.873. Against Kansas, points per possession was 0.690.
Not nice.
One point per possession is like, you got to be at 1. You got to be at 1. Under 0.7.
Buzz, your girlfriend. Woof. Bearcats, your offense.
Woof.
There were 113 total possessions, 88 points. Ends up being 0.779 points per possession.
I'm not good at math, but I know that's bad.
So my point being, you're struggling, you're trying, but you're not playing with any confidence. Like that, ultimately, that would be the best way to describe what we have seen. They have no confidence on offense. They have nobody.
Like a way to get confidence is what we talked about, is like not recklessly, but like, let's freaking run.
Yeah.
Cheap baskets, cheap fouls, defensive guys out of position. Like, you're a good defensive team. You're not just taking the ball out of the basket and running a lot of offense against a set defense. Take advantage of that.
You're getting stops and you're rebounding at a pretty high level. Go.
Yeah.
And you have athletes. You have athletes that theoretically should be able to put a lot of pressure on a defense.
That most teams in the Big 12 aren't matching up with.
Right. And even if they are, it's like 50-50. It's like it's a coin flip. Like, challenge. Maybe you make a couple mistakes here and there, but guess what? Your offense in the half court's not resulting in many points anyway.
I mean, they're more like, I don't think I'm really speaking of the turn. Like, they got a more athletic roster than Kansas does.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't fully dispute that.
Maybe not Baylor. They had a more athletic roster than Colorado. Like, it just feels like that. Like that to me feels like a realistic way to maybe get some of these guys, like, especially at the beginning of the game, like put the pressure on the other team. Like, let them know, hey, this is how it's going to go today. We might take a bunch of shots and we might miss a bunch of shots, but we're going to keep coming at you. Not we get to the first TV timeout and we got 5 points. And then now we're set into how this game is going to be played.
Right. Matt, the only thing Matt says, let's run the AAU offense. The AAU offense, Matt, is something we know in the industry as do him. And they do not have many do him guys. That's the AAU offense. Here's the ball. You're better than the guy in front of you. You're a top 50 kid. He's a white kid that's probably going to play in like the A-Sun or the Patriot League. Do him. Go get him. They don't have, especially in this league, a whole lot of do him guys. Like, Dan can do that sometimes, but a lot of times at the end of it, it just ends in Tasmanian Dan. And, that doesn't work as much as we would like it to. It worked the one time last night. It worked. It was the dumbest, other than the one that bounced in off the ground that nobody touched. It was maybe the dumbest bucket of the game.
For sure.
So, I mean, you've got to generate some stuff that doesn't involve just we're going to walk the ball up the floor and go against a set defense.
Well, I mean, it's kind of like what we talked about going into this last football season was you're not going to beat teams with a bunch of 10, 12, 14 play drives.
Right.
Like the
basketball, you're right. It's the basketball equivalent of a 14 play drive.
This offense is just not functioning at a level that you're going to just out execute teams to death in the half court. So how are you manufacturing easy points?
I mean, really, Iowa State can do that. Why? Because Curtis Jones can just shoot from 27 feet and score 30 points, and it erases a lot of the what is happening for Iowa State. Cincinnati has proven not to have that guy. God, they're so fun to watch, Dave.
Did you see I didn't see it. I saw a tweet about it where Hunter Dickinson bent over to pick up a loose ball and Iowa State dove for it and got it, and it led to a three and blew the game open.
Almost from midcourt. Curtis Jones took that three from the mid, not when they talk about the he shot it from the logo, where usually on the cusp of the logo. He was deep in the logo, Dave.
You think Buffalo's coaches are upset he transferred?
Probably. They had to start it. They finally got to a point they had to start it.
Well, they only started him because Milo is hurt.
Yeah. They're so good. God, they're so good. No, they sat Jackson, I think, and started Jones.
Well, no, they had to start Jones because Milo broke his hand. Who else were they going to start?
They were going to start
another a seventh guy over him.
I think they started somebody else and then started Jones over Jackson. They sat one of their guards and started Jones. I'm telling you, because the guy they sat was great too, because he was pissed off. That team's. The funny thing is, I think for the large part of the game last night, Dave, they did not have a single top 100 player on the floor.
TJ doesn't even talk during the games either.
No, he just stands there.
He just stands there.
And flexes.
Yeah, just like this the whole time. The arms, the hands under the pecs to make him look bigger.
Yeah. He could do the Terry Crews and just left, right it.
But, I mean, again, I don't know, man. Like I said, you're gonna have to win a whole bunch of more games for me to against these other middle-ish Big 12 teams. For me to think that there's real promise in the back quarter, back third, however you want to break it up. Because I mean, again, one game is better, but do you think that type of performance is going to get it done against Houston, Iowa State?
No.
Texas Tech, the other team,
So they took out Deshaun Jackson out of the starting lineup and put in Jones. So they went with even another guard.
Yeah.
And then Jackson scored 17 points. And Jones scored 25. Anywho, enough about Iowa State.
That's right.
That's not why people are here. Look, the defense is going to keep them in games. So it's not like they need to get to a point where they, at least through this stretch of the Big 12, in order to beat, they still have Houston, Iowa State, and Baylor from the elite teams in the Big 12, because there's starting to be a pretty big divide between those teams that we thought were going to be elite and are becoming elite, and then the next group. But they only have 3 of those games left out of the next 15. You got 12 games against everybody else. The defense is going to allow them to be in most of them. But this offense isn't going to pile up wins right now.
Right. I mean, even if you hold a team to 40% shooting, like, we haven't seen 40% shooting since Thanksgiving.
Yeah. I mean,
so,
the best way to put it is Colorado shot 41% from the floor last night, and we're like 4 percentage points higher from the floor than Cincinnati. 36%. 36%. That's also because you allowed Dikembe Mutombo to block every shot that you like. What happened to going at a shot blocker's chest?
The one in the second half, the lob in the second half, where he basically like palmed it and like cupped it into a fast break dribble. I was just like, I mean, what? And then he had the block where I think I tweeted from my account. I was like, oh boy, the block that he just like volleyball spiked. I'm like, what? Did you guys miss the first 35 minutes of the game?
Go into his chest, challenge him. Don't I'm going to get this one over him. No. Jesus. It was frustrating, David. It was frustrating.
Yeah.
Up next, Arizona State.
They might have a pretty significant injury if I don't know his name, their one freshman shooter doesn't play. I don't think he played in their last game.
Yeah, I'd have to dig into it.
How did Jaden Quintons end up there?
I don't know. I think a relationship with Hurley. If I
recall,
correctly.
You're supposed to go to Kentucky, and then Cal left, right?
Yeah, and then didn't go to Arkansas, and instead ended up at Arizona State.
Right. So yeah, their second leading scorer, Jason Sannon, averaging almost 13 a game, 48% from 3. He's only played in one of their last 4 games.
They still can score. They scored. UCF's got a decent defense.
Buddy, for UCF, put up 40.
Yeah. They can score.
This seems like the perfect game to start implementing the David and Chad fast break offense.
Right?
It doesn't seem like they want to play a ton of defense. I mean, their scores aren't wildly. That's really the outlier. Was last night or whatever night it was. That was the outlier score.
55, 66, 60. Well, they've been really bad on the road.
Yeah.
55 at Kansas, 56 at BYU, 62 in a semi-away game, 66 in a neutral. New Mexico and St. Mary's at their NTE, they scored a decent amount. But actually, surprisingly,
well, Quinton's is the leading shot? Is he still leading the country in block shot?
I He's number 23 in block percentage, looking at Ken Palm.
He was blocking like 3 a game at one point.
Yeah. He's one of the best, without question, one of the best shot blockers in the country. But they're top 60 in the country in average possession length on defense. That surprised me a little bit. They do sit down and guard a little bit better than I anticipated. Their defense is actually they're 50th in defense. You would think with the number of points they've scored at times, their offense would be better, Dave, but they're 93rd in adjusted offense, which is still quite. I didn't even look at
What
today.
what have we fallen to?
127th in offensive efficiency.
That's a more than doubling of where it was when we were going into Big 12 play.
Yeah.
It was in the 40 to 50 range.
And it's 127, and essentially they're the worst offense in the top 40 of Ken Palm.
Yeah. Yeah. So we'll see. Let's push the pace. Let's, especially if one of their better players is still out, let's get them into their bench even quicker. But I just want to see, like, not attitude's not the right word, but like offensively, just like more attitude. I don't know, man. Like,
I here's what I think you're getting at. I want to watch it and feel like there's a plan. Like, I want to watch them on offense and feel like, okay, I know what they're trying to accomplish.
Because that's what we said earlier. It's not even that that CMOS made the threes. Like, you could tell on those late possessions that it just looked different.
Well, they had the other where Day got downhill to a cleared out left side right to the rim and got a layup. Like, there was structure. There was, some semblance of this is who we are and this is what we're trying to do. And I get it. You're in a good league. The defenses are tough. Like, everybody knows you. They've scouted you. They've got you figured out. But it can't be Dribble James.
And that's the thing is, like, I know we were in this position of, and you were having conversations on the social platform about, like, your best players aren't making shots. You're not gonna beat anybody really at this level. And I agree, but the offense can't just be, well, our best players aren't making shots tonight.
Right.
Like, there's gotta be like, okay, our best players aren't making shots. Here's what we're gonna do to try to get them going, or get somebody else going, or
What has been your view of, like, CJ and Josh Reed as they've been kind of reinserted into the rotation? Because it feels like they're guys that, while they might not be like scoring threats, the ball doesn't stick. Both of them are willing cutters. Like, it feels like when those two are in the game, or even at one at a time, the offense looks a little bit more like it has a purpose, because those two are doing the things that facilitate better offense.
Right. I mean, we talked about, could Josh Reed to some extent be 2025 John Newman?
Yeah.
Now, I don't think he's going to get enough minutes to be John Newman.
John Newman was playing 30 minutes a game. Like,
right. But
take him off the
I mean, this is now two games in a row maybe more. I don't know. Where I've noticed him,
It's been
and
2.
it's felt like offensively, like the spacing felt better, the movement felt better, and if he's out there, he's probably. I mean, if he's out there with the Z's, then maybe he's your fourth option. But he knows that. He's out there to, like we said, facilitate and make things easier for the other guys. I mean, I don't know the exact substitution pattern. Was he first or second in behind Day last night?
Yeah, he was. Him and CJ are kind of
Like
Josh
he was
is
against
the
Kansas.
forward. Yeah, Josh is the forward sub, and CJ is the guard sub.
I mean, I would probably at this point like to see him get a few more minutes, but I don't know. I mean, at what extent and how does that work?
Yeah.
I don't know, but I think it certainly seems to run cleaner when he's out there.
I think CJ, you can say the exact same thing.
Yeah.
Like, you know, I don't think you're at a point where you're going to play either of those guys 25 minutes, but you might be at a point where you got to get them in that 15 to 20 range if your offense is going to continue, at least in the half court, to be a little bit more fluid, to be a little bit more structured. Like, those guys are not out there looking to slip screens and get the ball and score, or looking to kind of hold the ball and like evaluate their ability to take a guy one-on-one. The Josh Reed one-on-one possession, they should just show to him and go, don't ever do that again.
Yeah.
Where he took the step back 19-footer. Like, Josh, we're not asking you to do that. Give it up. Maybe you'll get it back, but please don't do that when you go.
Yeah. But I mean, yeah. I think he's earned it. I think that's the thing is like, and I think I said this maybe earlier in this stretch of games of like, the bench can be used as a motivator. It can be used for a lot of different things, but like he's earned more minutes Saturday based off of the way he's played the last 2 games.
Yeah. I think both of them have. Well, and CJ's going to get more minutes. Like Wes said on the post-game or pregame yesterday, Connor is officially shut down for the time being. Like, I don't know how long that's going to be, but he's been super, super banged up, and he's been trying to play through it. And it's just at a point where, like, look, man, we appreciate it.
Right. It's at the point of diminishing returns. Like, you're not.
Right.
You're gutting it out, but it's not helping us.
Right. So you've got CJ in this kind of like break glass in case of emergency type situation. Use him. Let him, you know, the kid knows good offense. He knows how to execute offense. So kind of lean into it a little bit, maybe. Like I said, I'm not ready to CJ needs to be back at the point that we were at the, I think people forget he was a starter.
Oh yeah.
Last year before he got hurt. Like he was the starting 2 before he got hurt last year. And a lot of that was to the thought being to help bring along Jizzle and Day as they were first getting acclimated to playing point guard at the high major level. I don't think Dan is playing well right now. I'm just going to be honest with you. I think he's given you some scoring. I think he has been back to some of the bad habits that we saw a year ago from him defensively, where teams are he's running into screens.
I was wondering if
crashing into screens.
If he was going to go out for football and play linebacker or something, because the next time he puts his shoulder in the chest of the guy screening him, I'm going to throw a brick through a window.
Right. Like, oh, Dan looks like he's trailing on plays again. Yeah, he's trailing on plays because He's not beating a single screen.
And then as soon as
They
he
are
puts his shoulder
successfully
into
running
him, he goes down on one knee.
Mm-hmm.
It's like,
Well, he's playing linebacker, and he's built like an outside receiver trying to play linebacker on defense. Like,
yeah,
you're not at this level. Again, at this level, you are not going to beat screens at his size by just trying to run through Hunter Dickinson. Like, that's not going to happen. So he's got to get back to playing better. I mean, I thought, that stretch where they got up 12, I think he was out because he picked up his third foul at the beginning of the second half. I don't think he was on the floor. And then when they brought him back in, the offense stalled out again. Like, maybe you do have to look at CJ for 20 minutes a game at the 2. Like, I don't know how the minutes load facilitates if you do that, but you are a team that is in desperate need of offense, and having a guy on the floor that can shoot and cut and understand good offensive basketball is a necessity.
yeah.
What you watching?
Sending out some football offer tweets. Bearcats coaches busy in the 5-1-3 this week, offering Lakota East tight end, Elder linebacker.
Yeah. I think they were allowed back on the road yesterday or today.
Yeah.
So they hit the Cincinnati area hard today.
Yes, I put on the boards that I know that various coaches have been to Lakota East, Little Miami, Elder, Oak Hills, Anderson. Offered a nice 2027 Anderson DB.
Yeah. Gotta pound the pavement, right?
Right.
You got anything else on basketball?
Just win Saturday, man. Like, we can talk about the offense, but winning it doesn't cure all, but like, you're not going to build momentum doing win here, loss here, win here, 2 wins here, loss here. Like, they have to figure out a way to, while they're figuring out the offense and maybe finding a few things, you still got to stack wins, and that will help you. But like, I got to see it.
Right.
Like, they're still like nowhere near a tournament level team right now.
Right.
So, and I'm not saying if they reeled off another 5 that they would be, but like, that's really the only way I feel like you can put yourself in a position to be one. Like, you kind of by starting 0-4, and like, I don't want to talk about it yet because I want them to win on Saturday, but like, we've got a significant losing record at home in Big 12 play in 2 years.
Yeah. Got to flip the script at some point. Like,
because we know you ain't getting a bunch on the road, regardless of who the opponent is.
The scary thing is they've been better on the road. The games that the games that they should have won on the road, they've won on the road.
They were pretty fucking terrible at Baylor.
They weren't supposed to. Like, let's be honest about that. Let's be honest about that. I mean,
they were still. Regardless of whether you thought they're going to win or not, that was bad.
It was bad. It was bad. That was more. The defense gave them no chance with as bad as the offense has been. The defense gave them no shot to be remotely close in that game. I know people get mad, like the Mick Cronin thing. People get mad about that, but like, when your offense is struggling, your defense has to keep you in striking distance for those little windows where your offense does make some shots, and the defense did not do that against Baylor. I
Right.
worry about that against Arizona State, honestly, because they're not as good as Baylor offensively, obviously, but they do have some dudes that can give you significant trouble, right? Like what BJ Freeman had 26 against UCF, and Quaintance had 20. Mason had 15. Miller had 10. Like they got some dudes that can cause issues. And oh yeah, by the way, they went 12 of 24 from 3 in the UCF game. They still lost.
Without their best 3-point shooter.
If you play a team that makes 12 threes,
I mean, 12 threes almost beat them against Kansas. Just the
right.
3.
Just the threes. Just the threes. My goodness. Yeah, I mean, at some point though, Dave, shouldn't the old adage, like you shoot better at home, you play better offensively at home, shouldn't that hold up at some point in time?
You'd hope, but I mean, like, I've always been one to be like, when people are like, you know, eventually the bad field goal kicking is going to catch up to them, and I'm like, or it's not.
Right.
And people are like, well, oh, eventually they're gonna get out of this funk offensively, and I'm like, there's nothing that says that that's guaranteed to happen.
Right.
Like, this team can't keep committing all these penalties. Eventually it's gonna hurt them. Maybe it won't. Like, so, you know.
You get, let's see, let's just go over real quick. Looking at Arizona State, like I said, they are 62 in Ken Palm, 92 on offense, 50 on defense. So a little bit different than you would think, like when you think looking at some of their scores, but a decent defensive team. Metrically not a great offensive team, but they do have some firepower that can give you problems. They don't play exceedingly fast. They are 1-4. They're right there with Cincinnati. The funny thing is, like, 2-4 get you all the way back up into that middle group in this conference because the top portion has been so dominant.
Well, that's the thing, is like, you win 2 or 3 games in a row, you can have some serious movement, because there's a decent chance that some of the other teams might go 1-3 or 2-4, and or, you know, 0-1 and whatever I'm trying to say. I don't know, but like,
yeah,
you can make up some ground, but it's not the ground in the conference standings that really matters. I mean, they just have to start playing a lot better. And if they do, then they'll win games because they're playing better. Like, that's really the only thing that matters. Moving up from 0-4 to 2-4 to 3-4 doesn't really mean anything.
And then Texas Tech, 17 in Ken Palm, 10 on offense, 51 on defense.
JT Toppin's going to be a problem.
Yeah. That position, when the other team has had an elite guy, that position has been an issue. He's ranked in all kinds of stuff. Offensive rating, usage, percentage of possession, number of shots. Offensive rating, he's number 10. Offensive rebounding percentage, he's number 10. Defensive rebounding percentage, he's number 62. That's of every player in the entire country. Number 79 in blocks. Number 398 in 2-point percentage. Like, he's an issue that they have not handled well, dealing with really good fours. And they're a team that offense and defense, they do allow teams to get out and run on them a little bit. They surprisingly play pretty slow on offense, and they're 246 in the country in tempo, offensively. They do let you run, so maybe Cincinnati's got a little bit of an opportunity to run on Texas Tech. So that's just kind of a sneak peek into what they have coming over the next two. Let's timestamp basketball there. Brought to you by Turtles Brew. 0 sugar, 0 carbs, gluten-free. It's a bourbon-infused sweet tea. They have lemonade tea, strawberry mint, cherry lime, raspberry peach, orange vanilla. There's over 50 locations in greater Cincinnati, more than 100 in and around Ohio. Go to turtlesbrew.com for more information and to find the location nearest you. A portion of the proceeds goes to save the sea turtles. Aaron, that's Aaron's riding that one till the wheels fall off, Aaron. Rock fight in Boulder.
I like it. Temple about to beat Memphis would be a very AAC thing that would happen for that to happen.
Thank God. I was looking at this. I had this game on as I was, normally during the show, I'll get into the office around 7 and just kind of like start looking through some things and what we're going to talk about. And I looked over and I saw Memphis and Temple, and I was watching a little bit of it. And I said, you know what is the most refreshing thing in my life maybe this week, Dave?
Not having to pay attention to AAC basketball anymore?
I don't think I know a single player on Temple's roster.
There's no way I do.
I know a couple guys on Memphis. They've usually got a couple dudes. Know a couple guys on Memphis.
Oh no, I disagree. I think
okay.
at least Jamal Mashburn Jr. is on Temple.
Okay, there's one. I did see him play. I thought he was pretty good in AAU ball. I don't know how he ended up.
Lynn Greer the third.
I know Lynn Greer. I do not know. I am not familiar with his game, sir.
Yeah.
Mashburn would be the only guy that I'm
Mash has 19.
With. Cincinnati recruited him a little bit.
Minnesota with the upset against Michigan. Hit a 3-pointer at the buzzer for the win.
It's the third loss all year by Michigan and fourth loss all year by Michigan, all fewer than 5 points.
That would be frustrating.
Not
as frustrating as holding someone to 54 and not even being in the game, but a different kind
blown out.
A different kind of frustrating.
You give up 54 and get blown out. The one thing that has caught my eye, I'm continuing to monitor in the Big 12, Dave, is there have been 40 games played in the Big 12.
Okay.
How many of them do you think have been 4 points or fewer and overtime out of the 40 games that have been played?
3.
Not quite that bad. 6. 15%. 15% of the games in the league have been close. How many do you think have been greater than 19 points? 20 points or more?
6.
10. 25% of the 40 games played so far in the Big 12 have been blowouts. Not like, the 14 points in the Kansas game. That looks terrible. That was with 7 minutes left. That was a close game. And Kansas went on a run.
Winning in the second half.
Right. Well, Arrington Page, with 6 minutes left, has a dunk to get it to within 1 and misses. And then Kansas, closes them out. But 25% of the games in this league have been beatdowns. 20 plus. Crazy. There's not a whole lot on the football side other than all this NCAA stuff. Which there's been a big stink tonight about the Department of Education says that revenue sharing, Title IX is going to apply.
Yeah, I'll believe Linda McMahon gives a shit about that when she does.
Without getting into it,
without making it political, it seems like one party. This is being pushed by one party who will not be in charge in 72 hours.
Right. We'll
So
leave it at that.
that's the nice way to say it.
Yeah, we'll leave it at that. I will believe that women's sports are going to be forced to get just as much money in revenue share as men's sports when I see it.
Right.
Because that is a lawsuit just waiting to happen.
Right.
Like,
it's wait a second. They don't generate that revenue, so why are you're forcing us to split revenue with someone that doesn't generate it?
It makes sense on like scholarships and all the things that it currently is.
It has nothing to do with opportunity, and I always thought that's what Title IX was about was opportunity. Right. How money gets spent is about what drives the dollar. And I mean, you have the opportunity to earn a ton of money if you're an incredible female basketball player.
I think it could force the number for women's basketball to go up. Ron, what's up? Unfortunately, Ron, we talked like an hour and 16 minutes on basketball. We just moved on like 3 minutes ago, and you're here. So there's 75 minutes of basketball talk that just happened. Hey, look, I appreciate the hustle, brother. 2 jobs, you got to do what you got to do. I get it.
That's right.
Keep grinding. But right now, you got to be here early to catch the basketball portion of the show because there ain't a whole lot going on in football.
No.
The other one is the proposal, Dave, to move the transfer portal window to essentially after bowl season, so like January 2nd,
right? So
and to have the window open for 10 days. I will let you pontificate because I have thoughts.
I mean, it's call spade. It's coaches just not wanting to have to deal with the transfer portal.
That is part of it, yes.
And they don't I don't understand how that would work. A player would enter the portal on the 2nd and then need to figure out his visit situation, take all his visits, and then make a decision in 10 days so he can enroll in school for the spring semester.
Right.
How is that? To me, it's the coaches saying we're going to do this, and that's going to keep guys from going into the portal because they don't want to go in and have to make this decision that fast, and then maybe either get stuck without a spot or whatever it's essentially
except for the guys we want to throw in the portal,
right? The guys that we want to push out, we're fine with it because we don't want them on the team anyway anymore. So it feels like a way for coaches to keep players from entering the portal.
I also think some of this is directly tied to the bowl system. Because by and large, and I've talked about this for years and years and years and years, the only thing in college sports that the NCAA has no hand in the cookie jar is the bowl system. It is created outside of the NCAA. It has been made very clear throughout the years, including the college football playoff, that the NCAA will not be getting their hands on a penny of this money. What that means is all of that money is going into the conferences and then being distributed to the schools. If the bowl system dies, that is a lot of money.
If it dies, it dies.
If it dies, it dies. That is a lot of money that they are counting on being distributed and dispersed with no middleman unless you want to call the conference a middleman, but you know what I mean. And if players are opting out and you're seeing bowl games become kind of a niche production that really relies on the gambling world to keep afloat. Because I think if you took gambling out right now, nobody would care.
I mean, they still get good ratings.
Yes, because everybody can gamble now, Dave.
Well, I just think in general they get I watched several middle of the day Jacksonville State OU was a great bowl game. It was the perfect middle of the day weekday bowl game. It was chaotic. There were touchdowns. There were turnovers. I would personally like to see bowl games because I don't with a 12-team playoff. Let's be real. Who gives an absolute you know what? Who's playing in the Birmingham Bowl or the Cheez-It Bowl or any bowl? Turn them into exhibitions for young guys.
But that doesn't excite anybody. And Ron, look, the Pop-Tart Bowl should be added to the playoff format.
It doesn't excite anybody, but the coaches should look at it and go, let's use this to our advantage. If we're not going to get rid of them, because we're not going to get rid of them. ESPN owns almost all of them. It's programming, it's advertising. They rate higher than virtually every single regular season college basketball game. The Weed Whacker Bowl does a better number than. So they have value to ESPN.
You're right.
So the coaches should say, let's turn them into something that has value to us. Because what is the value? If UC made a bowl game, everyone likes to say they get the extra practices. Oh, okay. But what is the value of all of that? The value to me would be, let's spend 2 weeks just practicing our young guys and then put them in a game situation.
That's essential. Minus the last part, there's 15 bowl practices. Typically, teams will do 10 bowl practices that are the young guys.
Right.
And then 5 bowl practices to prepare.
But when the whole thing was going back and forth with was UC gonna have to play in the street, whatever the bowl, Independence Bowl, I think was the one that needed. Yeah. The timing of it, and it was a unique situation, obviously. They wouldn't have even gotten the full allotment of bowl practices.
Right.
But yeah, I don't know. I don't know what you do with the schedule because I do think it's pretty messed up that teams still trying to win a national championship have to then deal with the transfer portal. I guess it's the trade-off of you have to deal with this because you can win a national championship and we can't. But it's still this idea just doesn't seem like it benefits anybody.
Right. So I don't know if you would agree with me, but I said this when it came out earlier this week or last week. I don't know what the hell day it is still. It's look, I have this giant cut on my arm, and this is a medic being like, all right, well, we're going to put a Band-Aid on your leg, and you're going to be fine. Well, no, I can see the tendons. There's things wrong up here.
And then they're talking about we'll remove the spring portal. I'm like, what does that have to do with this?
Right. So ultimately, if it goes through, and I don't think it will, even though there's a bunch of the funny thing also is this is from the coaches.
It's coming from the coaches, right?
Right. You know what the coaches don't do anymore, Dave?
What? Tell me.
Scour through
right
hundreds and hundreds of guys in the transfer portal.
No.
The recruiting department that you're paying hundreds of thousands of dollars now to handle this stuff comes in. They open up the laptop and they connect it to the projector and they say, these are the 30 guys, 40 guys that we feel like a pretty good shot with.
Coach Cardwell, these are the 5 guys we think would work best for you. Watch them real quick and tell me which ones you like the most. And we'll go after that.
Give them a call. So the coaches aren't the ones even like deep in the weeds. I talked to, obviously, there's a bunch of guys that have come through here that are now scattered across the country. And I made some calls just like, what's your perspective? And it's like, does the NCAA think we're going to stop working when the regular season ends all the way to January 2nd? Of course, we're not going to stop working. Like, that was the unanimous reaction from recruiting departments around the country.
Right.
Of course, we're not. We're just going to pack it up the last game of the regular season.
We're literally just going to wait till January 2nd to find out who goes into the portal.
Yeah.
And then we'll figure out, like, you don't think they're sending messages and being like, hey, we like you. Are you thinking about getting in the portal? Because if you are, we'd be interested.
There are no, outside of bowl games, there are no games.
Like,
there's nothing else.
I never want to hear about tampering. I just don't ever want to hear about it.
Right. Like, if this goes through, it is telling schools, tamper your ass off. So that when January 2nd hits, you're ready, because school started on January 13th.
How do they think you're supposed to maneuver through this? Like, thousands of football players entered the portal, and we're gonna have thousands of them enter it at the same time, and they can be in it. I always love that. Well, they don't have to make a decision. Well, they do if they want to enroll in spring semester.
So what happens to those guys that maybe don't make a decision quick? Like, guess what? There are always going to be a group of these guys that enter the portal, generally at the top of the portal, or like towards the top, that they've got an agent, their agent, like, they know when they go in the portal, this is like even if it's not, this is where I'm going, like these are 2 or 3 schools that I've mapped out. Like, okay, I'm going to visit and I'm going to make a decision. It's going to happen pretty quick. You know, a day at each school. Give me like 5 days, I can make a decision. That's maybe 20% of the guys that enter the portal. 80% of the guys that enter the portal are answering the phone the minute that their name hits the portal and fielding, if they're any good, 30 calls. 30 calls. They got 10 days, 15 days tops to like take all these, like, talk to everybody, narrow their list down, schedule visits, take visits, make a decision, and then get accepted, get enrolled, and start classes by, if UC started school on the 13th, you're going to have to get all that done essentially by the 20th. That you can start classes.
This, which happens all the time in college sports, and especially college football, this just like feels like such an overreaction.
Yes.
Knee-jerk reaction to one specific player, and that's the backup quarterback at Penn State.
Maybe.
Who went into who was not just a backup quarterback. I mean, he's in their game plan.
Yeah, he played.
And he went into the portal. And I just think this is an overreaction to that. Like, there is no perfect system, but like, I don't think the way that it's working right now is that bad. Like, I might cut it down a little bit more, but not to 10 days and not to January 2nd.
Right. I don't think the number of days matters a whole, like 10 days. If you put it at the end of the conference championship and you gave everybody 10 days to go in the portal.
Go in, right. And then they can take visits and they can still decide.
Right.
Like, and they can still enroll in, right. That's the thing is, the days isn't the amount of time isn't the thing. It's when in the calendar that you're moving.
Right.
Like push it one more week closer in December, like further into December. Give a week break in between conference championship games, and then start it on whatever, December 15th, and have it open until January 1, or 15 days, 10. I mean, like we said, the days, like
Right.
you have
The number of days it's open is like that's the sleight of hand, right?
like how many guys are like not pretty sure they're entering the portal.
Oh, well, guess what? whether you're playing in a bowl game or not,
Whether you're going to or not.
they all have their meetings immediately at the end of the regular season. Immediately, the Monday after your last game of whether you play it, like, you don't play in a conference championship, or you play in a conference championship, the Monday after your last regular season game, the meetings start.
That's what I'm saying. Like, push it another week. So now you've got 10 days post conference championship game. Everybody knows whether they're going in the portal by that time. Then
Correct.
have it open for 10, 12, whatever. But don't move the start of it until after all the pointless bowl games.
Right.
Like, who are you helping by doing that? What
coaches.
player? What
Less work for the coaches?
Right. That's what I mean. Like, this is not a student athlete driven initiative.
You want to hear something wild that I didn't think of as I was making these phone calls earlier in the week when this was coming out? The way that this rev share stuff is working, what is going to be the day that rev share starts?
Like what? Usually it's like the July 1 is the day in
the fiscal year.
Yeah.
Okay. So what does that mean for revenue sharing? It not only has to cover July 1st to the end of the football season, it also has to cover January 1st,
right,
portal season, all the way to July 1st before the money goes back into the bank, so to speak, to use again. So Texas Tech, for example, I think they had like 20 million donated by a booster that went into their NIL fund that they kind of determined, like, we need to use all this money by July 1st.
Right.
So why did Texas Tech have a great portal season? Because they were able to treat that money like a signing bonus.
Right.
Like, and everybody else is like, well, we're not going to be able to really get into the big money until July 1st. So we'll give you a little bit now from our NIL fund. And then when rev share starts on July 1st, like, we can really get into the way things are going to be in the future. And then Texas Tech is like, oh, they're going to give you 10 grand. We'll give you 150.
Right.
Where are you going to go if you're the kid? You going to wait till July 1st for that money? Or are you going to take it on January 1st, get your $150,000, and then get paid again in July?
Yeah. I certainly have only read tweets about it, but it's just another added to the list of things that I've said for how many years on this podcast that no one, there's no order, there's no organization, there's no foresight, there's no college. I mean, I love the sport of football, but like,
sure,
college football is a train wreck in how they try to operate.
It's so post-reactionary.
If America didn't just love football, it would have been the business of college football would have gone out of business a long time ago. If the business wasn't football.
Yeah, but everybody's like, football. It's football. It's football. We're fine. It's good. It's football. Finally, Monday night, Notre Dame, Ohio State. Obviously, a significant amount
Simone one pack.
The Simone one pack. We got a
We're just
Simone
doing
one pack here.
One tall boy.
The tall boy. It's a tall boy. The
Yeah.
Simone tall boy.
Yeah.
This isn't a tall boy.
No,
16.
Not a tall boy.
It's a medium boy.
You need the
growler.
The big dogs. I know, like,
the 32
UT basketball
growler.
games now, they sell these like monster cans.
What's your I want to see Marcus.
I mean,
obviously.
I mean, I don't like Ohio State, and I like Marcus and all those guys. I think they're going to get dog walked off the field.
I hope you're wrong. The only hope I have is that Notre Dame's secondary is very, very good.
It is, but so is Ohio State's, and Notre Dame's passing game. I don't know how they move the ball in the passing game.
I agree. Like that,
they've got bad injuries on the offensive line. I mean, one starter is already out. Another one, if he plays, will be playing severely limited. It just doesn't set up well for them. The way they need to play to win the game, I just don't know how they score.
Yeah. I hope you're wrong. I want my guys to win.
I mean, I want to be wrong. I don't want Ohio State to win the national championship, but like they're finally playing like the $20 million team. And the team they're playing is not really dynamic and has injuries.
Yeah. I think Freeman is close to a breakthrough, but I don't think.
And then the Bengals can hire Al Golden back.
It sounds like that's going to happen.
I don't know.
Or at least,
I mean, they're not.
All the signs point to Al Golden.
I don't think they're in any hurry because of the defensive coordinator jobs. They're clearly the most coveted, so they can kind of take their time. And I mean, where else? Hey, you get to be a defensive coordinator for Joe Burrow's offense, and all you have to do is not be generationally terrible.
Be okay.
Just be okay.
Just
be fine.
Don't
be like an offensive lineman where the best thing possible is no one notices you.
Right. Just don't suck.
Yeah. Who wouldn't want that job?
If there's a guy in front of you, tackle him. That's all we're asking. Just don't let him run for a touchdown.
Yeah, we don't need to be the 0-1 Ravens or whatever. So yeah.
Ron says 42-17 Ohio State.
Yeah, I mean that feels about right.
You hurt my feelings, Dave. I don't like it.
I mean, I'm here for impartiality and
I know.
I'm
not blaming you. I'm just saying I don't like it. I want to see Marcus hoist the trophy.
I do too.
I want to see Denbrock, with a giant bourbon, just standing there watching things happen and having a sip.
Just cracking a beer. I'd love to see Denbrock crack a beer like midway fourth quarter.
I love Marcus. Marcus is phenomenal. Marcus was awesome to work with. Denbrock is top 3 guys I've ever worked with at UC.
If it's 42-17, he might crack a beer midway through the fourth quarter.
He might. He legit might. He might just be like, wasn't our day.
There's one more rule change I wanted to see what your guys' thoughts were. The faking of injuries is currently being discussed in the offseason.
Incredibly dumb.
They are talking about an injured player missing the rest of a drive and potentially a head coach fine.
Right.
I don't mind it, Dave.
So my quarterback gets hurt on the game-winning drive and he can't come back in?
That'll stop the bullshit and then they can revisit it. But this whole guys acting like they're fine and then all of a sudden being like, my back.
Yeah,
my back.
I smell $150,000.
that stuff they got to take that out of the game. Like, if it takes a drastic measure to get them to do it, like, it's so obvious when it happens because you see somebody on the sideline be like, the guy like that is standing up, normal, getting ready for the play, all of a sudden pulls a fucking hamstring or gets shot by a sniper from the top of the stadium.
The thing I would rather see them be more stringent with the subbing than I care about guys faking injuries. Like,
I agree with that too.
Get your ass off the field, or we're going to call a delay game.
Yeah,
I don't care when the offense subbed. Get your ass off the field. The offense has the ball. They control the flow of the game. They have the ball.
Like, officials in basketball used to be asked to be able to count to 5.
Yeah, they
like
can't
if
count
you
to 5
run
anymore.
somebody on,
right?
The official steps in and goes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then free for all. If you can't adjust that fast,
right?
Yeah,
I mean, everybody does it. I mean, and I would rather see that become more of an emphasis than the faking of the injuries, because, like, we make a substitution with 15 seconds left on the play clock and can't get a playoff because, big boy defensive tackle waddles all the way to the sidelines, and they wait for him to get to the sidelines before they send his replacement on. I would rather that be officiated stricter than worrying about like who's falling down on purpose to slow down Tennessee's offense or Ole Miss's offense.
I know. I just hate that, like, oh shit, like they caught us, they got us in a bad situation, fall down and act like you're gonna die.
Right.
Like it's soccer flopping.
I think you should just allow the officials to call a 15-yard unsportsmanlike penalty.
I'm okay with that. Now, what Aaron didn't add in is that you will be allowed to call a timeout to get that player back on the field for the rest of the drive.
Okay. What if I don't have any timeout?
Yeah, then you should have managed your timeouts better, I guess.
No, I know. Like the portal thing, it just feels like we're like you got how many refs on the field? You're telling me that none of them saw this dude who looked totally fine just lay down? Right. Like, if I see that, I'm throwing a flag. I'm like, that's outside the sport. Yeah.
Bullshit.
Right. 15-yard penalty. Bullshit.
Chopping your thumb off with like a mandolin and putting an ankle brace on to fix it.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, I don't disagree, but something does have to be done on that front, I think. We'll see. That's going to wrap it up. I don't have anything else to you. Just win on Saturday. Shit, just win.
Yeah, that'd be nice.
Protect home court. Like, the fan base has been amazing. The fan base has been incredible, Dave, over the last 2 years. That place is full pretty much every night. You remember, because you had season tickets at this point. I remember the Mick Cronin days where the first sign of adversity, there were 6,000 people in that building.
Mm-hmm.
That is not happening. 12,000 people in that building every night. This is a great fan base. Let's get them some home wins. Let's give them a reason when they're walking out of the building and I'm standing in the well, like where the media entrance is, ripping a heater, and I'm listening to the people leave and walk like past that stairwell. I want to hear them happy. That's all.
Send them home happy.
Send them home happy. Makes life so much better. That's going to wrap it up. Appreciate everybody for being here. We will, Aaron and I have got a nightcap tonight, and then we'll see you on Saturday. That is the Holy Grail BCJ podcast, live from the Cincy Light Studios, right here on BearcatJournal.com.